How quickly we as a culture can change our minds. For the first time ever, a Gallup poll shows a majority of Americans favor legalizing marijuana by, you can see the numbers, it's a pretty big gap. In the poll just conducted, 58% answered yes, legalize pot. 39% said no. Now, look at how opinion has suddenly turned around. This is pretty interesting here because you see the bottom line. That's the kind of the lime green line. That's the percentage favoring legalized pot. And you can see over the course of time, the x-axis is the years, the very end being 2013, suddenly spikes upward. You see, again, 58% now favor legalization, including this recent convert.
I think, we've been terribly and systematically misled in this country for some time, and I did part of that misleading.
I know a lot of folks believe we have hit the point of no return, that it's really just a matter of time until marijuana is legalized nationwide, but a lot of other people are still saying, hang on, what are we doing here? Let's think this through. Carla Lowe is one of those people. She is the founder of a group called Citizens Against Legalizing Marijuana. Representing the other side, we have Mason Tvert, Communications Director for the Marijuana Policy Project. So welcome to both of you here. And Mason, I'm going to give you the first question here. The poll, I woke up to this poll and I thought, my goodness, 58% pro-pot? What was your reaction?
Well, I think it's clear that most Americans are just fed up with marijuana prohibition. It's been just as ineffective and wasteful and counterproductive as alcohol prohibition. And there's a much better way to go about it. And we have a great example with how we treat alcohol. So we could do the same thing by regulating marijuana, by taxing it, and by really treating it similarly and allowing it for responsible adult use.
Carla, I want your reaction, and just also, why do you think there has been this sudden uptick for pot legalization?
Thank you for inviting me to have this opportunity to share with you. This is really kind of old news for us in California. A poll several years ago was done in California before Prop 19 was on the ballot. And at that time, voters said, sure, why not legalize pot? That was before we had the opportunity to tell them what this drug really is and to ask them to consider more potheads driving school buses, more potheads on the road, more pot shops in their neighborhoods. The cost 10 to 1 of social costs when we legalize, the social costs of using marijuana. So when people were informed, they wisely, soundly defeated Prop 19, and I think Americans will do the same, especially when they have your show and give us the opportunity to tell what this drug really is, and in particular, what it's doing to our young people. Well,
as you point out, that was California, and that was a couple of years ago. The news really today, the peg is that this is a nationwide, this is Gallup poll nationwide. Right. Let's just imagine this. Again, here are the numbers. Carla, paint me a picture of if America were to legalize pot, what would it look like?
We'd have more kids using. The kids' use has risen dramatically since we've had, quote, medical marijuana. We know that for a fact. We know a third of our kids are dropping out of high school. Those kids are not getting jobs. No employer is hiring a pothead. We see more people having trouble hiring healthy people who can think and write and read. We know our kids' IQ is dropping from their use. We know that our kids' brains are not developed until they're 25. We know what marijuana is today, highly potent, 20 to 30 times stronger than it was 30 years ago. We know it's fat soluble. That means it stays in the body a long time, primarily in the brain and the sex organs. It does not bode well for the future of America.
So you paint this one picture. Mason, I want you to paint your version of the picture. And also, I've been counting the usage of the word pothead. I think I'm up to 4 or 5 from Carla. I'm just curious, does your side take offense to that?
Well, I take more offense to the absurd information that is being spread here by the other guest. It's a fact. Marijuana is objectively less harmful than alcohol. It's less toxic, it's less addictive, it poses far fewer health problems, and unlike alcohol, marijuana doesn't contribute to violent and reckless behavior. So, if the other guest is really concerned about people's health and well-being, I don't understand why she would prefer they use alcohol when they might otherwise use marijuana. About half of all Americans have used marijuana, and the vast majority of them are productive, healthy people who, rather than having a drink after work, enjoy having a little marijuana, and they do it responsibly, and that shouldn't be a crime. So it's really just upsetting to see that there are still some people with their heads buried in the sand who just think marijuana is going to go away, when in fact we could be actually controlling it. And instead of leaving it in an underground market, we could be regulating it and taxing it and knowing exactly who is selling it, where they're selling it, when they're selling it, and to whom they're selling it, which is perhaps the most important.
Carla, just quickly, I want to give you the last word. Do you feel like you're fighting a losing battle?
Absolutely not. When the people understand what this drug is and what it's doing, we're not debating alcohol. When prohibition was lifted, use of alcohol rose 3 times. We're going to have 3 times at least that more potheads. And yes, the majority of Americans do not smoke pot. This whole effort is being driven by multi-big billions of dollars from the drug cartels, people who would see this country brought to its knees simply by reducing the opportunity for children to learn and to become productive citizens. Okay. Voters are smarter than that.
Carla Lowe and Mason Tvert, thanks you two both very much. 2 different sides, 2 opinions here on the legalization of marijuana.